Hello coin collectors and history lovers. Welcome back to Old Charles, your #1 source for rare coin information, values, and the fascinating stories behind the coins we use every day. Today, we're diving deep into the Australian 50-cent coin from 1981. This isn't just another coin, it's a piece of Australia's modern numismatic history, and for many collectors, it represents a special era in Australian coinage. We'll cover its background, design, mintage, value, and condition factors in great detail. So stick around till the end, because you might be holding on to something that could be worth more than you think. Let's start with the history. The Australian 50-cent coin was first introduced in 1966, during the decimalisation of Australia's currency, when the country switched from pounds, shillings, and pence to the modern dollar and cent system. Interestingly, the very first 50-cent coin in 1966 was made of 80% silver. But because of rising silver prices, it quickly became more valuable for its silver content than its face value, leading many people to hoard them. In 1969, the Royal Australian Mint introduced the dodecagonal, or 12-sided, 50-cent coin we still use today, made of copper nickel instead of silver. This shape made the coin instantly recognizable and harder to confuse with other denominations. Fast forward to 1981, the year of the coin we're focusing on today. In this year, Australia saw one of its largest mintages of the 50-cent coin, and interestingly, production was split between several mints, including not just the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra, but also mints overseas, such as the Royal Mint in London and even the Royal Canadian Mint, to keep up with demand. That's what makes the 1981 50-cent coin so historically fascinating. It's not just Australian-made, but also produced internationally. Now, let's talk about the design. On the obverse side, you'll see the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This portrait was used on Australian coins between 1966 and 1984. The Queen is shown wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, one of her most iconic images. On the reverse side, we see the Australian coat of arms, featuring the kangaroo and emu supporting the shield, along with the 7-pointed Commonwealth star above. This design, created by Stuart Devlin, is one of the most recognizable in Australian coinage and remains a national symbol of pride. The coin weighs 15.55 grams, has a diameter of 31.5 millimeters, and is made of copper nickel. Its size and unique shape make it stand out compared to other coins in circulation. The mintage of the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin was very high. In fact, tens of millions were struck to meet circulation demands. Because of this, the coin is not considered rare in circulated condition. However, what makes it interesting for collectors is its mint variety, since some were struck in Australia, some in London, and others in Canada. Sharp-eyed collectors often look for small differences in strike quality or die variations that can hint at where a coin was minted. So, while a standard circulated 1981 50-cent coin is common, certain varieties or coins in high-grade condition can fetch more than face value. Now, the big question: what is the value of the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin today in circulated condition? Which means it has visible wear from everyday use. The coin is usually worth 50 cents to $1 AUD, basically its face value, with maybe a small collector's premium. In uncirculated condition, meaning it has never been used and still has its mint luster, the value can rise significantly. These coins may sell for $5 to $10 AUD, depending on quality. Proof versions *** or coins found in official mint sets from 1981 can be worth even more, sometimes $15 to $25 AUD or higher, depending on condition and packaging. Certain errors or varieties, such as misstrikes, die cracks, or coins with unusual minting flaws, can fetch much higher prices. Collectors are always willing to pay extra for unique error coins. Proof, specially struck for collectors, with mirror-like fields and frosted designs. 1981 50-cent coin in good condition might only ever be worth face value. But in UNC or proof condition, its collector's value rises significantly. That's why coin grading and proper storage, away from moisture, dirt, and scratches, is so important for preserving value. So, what have we learned today? The Australian 50-cent coin from 1981 might not be extremely rare, but it carries with it a fascinating history, from being minted both in Australia and overseas, to showcasing the national coat of arms that represents Australian identity. In circulation, it's usually just worth face value. But in pristine condition, proof sets, or with unique minting errors, it can become a desirable piece for collectors. If you've got some 1981 50-cent coins lying around, take a closer look. Who knows? You might have one in excellent condition that could be worth more than you think. Now, let's take a deep dive into the history of the Australian 50-cent coin, With special attention to the year 1981, the story begins back in 1966, when Australia made a major change to its currency system. Up until then, Australians used pounds, shillings, and pence, the old British-style system. But on 14 February 1966, Australia officially switched to the decimal system, introducing the dollar and the cent. It was one of the biggest financial transitions in the country's history, and with it came brand new coins, including the first version of the 50-cent coin. The 1966 50-cent coin was round and contained 80% silver, weighing 13.28 grams. However, almost immediately after release, the value of silver skyrocketed, and people began hoarding these coins because the silver inside was worth more than 50 cents. Very quickly, these coins disappeared from circulation. The government realized it couldn't keep producing silver 50-cent coins, so production stopped after just 1 year. That's when Australia introduced the new 12-sided 50-cent coin in 1969, made from copper-nickel instead of silver. This unique dodecagonal shape wasn't just for design. It helped distinguish the 50-cent coin from the 20-cent coin, which was similar in size. The new shape gave the coin an identity of its own, making it one of the most recognizable coins in Australia. By the 1970s, the 50-cent coin had become a backbone of Australian commerce. It was large, sturdy, and highly practical for larger transactions. And because it was worth $50, it quickly became a favorite for commemorative issues as well. For example, in 1970, Australia released its first commemorative 50-cent coin, celebrating the Captain Cook bicentenary. This began a tradition of using the 50-cent coin to mark national events. Now, let's fast forward to the year 1981. At this point, Australia had been using decimal currency for 15 years, and the 50-cent coin was well established. However, the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra faced an unusual challenge. Demand for 50-cent coins was extremely high, and they needed to produce tens of millions to keep up with circulation needs. But here's where it gets really interesting. The Royal Australian Mint didn't do all the minting alone. In 1981, to meet demand, Australia contracted overseas mints to help strike the 50-cent coins. Both the Royal Mint in London and the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa produced millions of these coins for Australia. This makes 1981 one of the most unusual years in the history of the Australian 50-cent coin, because the coins were literally made on 3 different continents. Even though all the coins looked the same, featuring Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse and the Australian coat of arms on the reverse, collectors know that there are subtle differences in strike quality, edges, and sometimes even die details depending on which mint produced them. That's why the 1981 50-cent coin is a favorite among collectors who enjoy variety and world connections. The political and economic context of 1981 is also worth noting. Australia was facing inflation, rising global oil prices, and challenges in international trade. At the same time, Queen Elizabeth II was still widely featured on coins across the Commonwealth, reinforcing Australia's ties to Britain. Having the Queen's portrait by Arnold Machin on the obverse was not just a design choice. It symbolized Australia's connection to the monarchy and the Commonwealth during a period of global economic change. In a way, the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin reflects both local and international history. Locally, it shows Australia's evolution in coinage and its reliance on the 50-cent piece as an essential part of everyday commerce. Internationally, it represents cooperation between mints around the world, as coins struck in Canada and England ended up in the pockets of Australians. Looking back, the 1981 issue stands out not because it was rare, but because it was a coin of unity and necessity, ensuring Australians had enough coinage in circulation during a crucial economic time. For collectors today, knowing that your 1981 50-cent coin could have come from Canberra, London, or Ottawa adds an extra layer of historical intrigue when it comes to coin collecting. Condition is everything. A coin's value doesn't just depend on its mintage or history, but largely on how well it has survived the years. The 1981 Australian 50-cent coin was struck in very large numbers, which means most examples are common in circulated condition. These are the coins that have passed through thousands of hands, jingled in countless pockets, and clinked together in cash registers. Naturally, these everyday coins show scratches, dulling, and heavy wear, but the real magic for collectors lies in coins that remain in high grades, those that have survived with minimal handling, often stored carefully since the day they left the mint. Let's break it down using the standard coin grading scale. In this grade, the coin is heavily worn. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II looks flat, the tiara details are faint, and the coat of arms on the reverse may have lost much of its sharpness. These coins are easy to find and usually only worth face value. Here, the design is still visible but shows moderate wear. The queen's hair details are partly worn, and the kangaroo and emu on the coat of arms may look smooth. While better than heavily circulated examples, they are still common. These coins show only light wear on the highest points. You can still see fine lines in the queen's hair and good definition in the coat of arms. Coins in this condition are harder to find in circulation and start attracting collector interest. These coins have only tiny traces of wear, often visible only under magnification. Most of the mint luster remains, making them shine much brighter than average circulation coins. Coins in this condition have no wear at all. They may have bag marks or light scratches from the minting and packaging process, but the designs are crisp and sharp. The 1981 50-cent coin in UNC condition can sell for several times face value. Proof coins are specially struck for collectors using polished dies and blanks. They have mirror-like fields and frosted designs. The 1981 proof coins, usually found in official mint sets, are highly sought after. These coins can sell for a premium well above regular uncirculated coins. Condition isn't just about how a coin was minted, it's about how it has been treated over the years. Many 1981 coins have scratches or dullness from careless storage, such as being kept in jars, boxes, or purses. Serious collectors know the importance of proper storage. Coins should be kept in protective holders, such as 2x2 flips, capsules, or albums. They should be stored in a dry environment, away from humidity, which can cause tarnish or corrosion. Direct handling should be avoided. If you must handle a coin, always hold it by the edges to protect the surface from fingerprints, oils, and scratches. Another factor is eye appeal, the overall look of the coin. Two coins in the same grade can still differ in value if one has a nice, original shine, while the other looks dull or stained. Collectors are often willing to pay more for coins that simply look better. Condition also plays a special role when it comes to error coins. A minting error in poor condition might be interesting, but one in uncirculated condition is far more desirable. A crisp strike, strong luster, and minimal damage all make an error coin far more valuable. For the 1981 Australian 50-cent coin, condition is especially important because the coin itself is common. Millions were produced, so ordinary circulated coins aren't rare at all. What makes the difference is finding one in pristine condition. A worn coin from 1981 might only ever be worth its face value, 50 cents. But a coin that has been preserved in mint state could be worth $5, $10, or even more, depending on collector demand. Proof coins, with their perfect mirror finish, can command even higher prices, especially if still housed in their original packaging. So, while millions of 1981 Australian 50-cent coins exist, the true treasures are those in high-grade condition. Whether it's an untouched UNC coin, a gleaming proof specimen, or an error preserved in mint state, condition transforms an everyday coin into a collectible piece of history. For anyone holding onto a 1981 50-cent coin, take a close look at its surfaces. The difference between a coin that has lived in pockets for decades and one that has been carefully preserved could mean the difference between 50 cents and several dollars of collector value.